All right, we are here. This is yet another episode of the No Names podcast. We are here with James, also known as Align, the stage name. Just a homie now these days.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. So it's we're cooking some of these early episodes, and this is episode number 2. So right off the rip, the biggest thing we're doing. What are we drinking today?
We are drinking super simple. This is just hot, black, light roast coffee, no cream or sugar.
My kind of man.
Yep. Nice and
I'm
simple.
I'm more of the iced coffee, like cold
Yeah.
brew, something like
Yeah.
that, but always black.
I can go for iced coffee or like an iced latte. I think I was telling you that the other day. I like when it's hot out, like an iced latte, but most of the time hot coffee I feel like is what wakes me up.
We're in a little transition period here with the weather.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, we're like
about
right in
like
the middle.
65.
Yeah.
See, I once it gets below like 30, then I'm going for the coffee.
Yeah.
One sip review is perfect. Dark Matter, one of my favorite places here in Lakeview.
This is like I feel like one of my favorite Chicago coffee shops to go to in
Quite a
general.
few in the
so.
city.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's not as many dark matters over by me where I live, but
Sad.
yeah,
It's
I still make my
crime.
way up here to get it.
Okay, so I guess going into this, I'm trying to think of like how we met. It was at Bollywood, right?
Yeah, Bollywood.
So
yeah.
Bollywood, you were performing,
Yep.
and then Elliot introduced us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really just that was what, 2
Yeah.
years ago? Yeah. 2
yeah,
years ago now.
That was 2 summers ago now. Yeah.
Wild.
hmm
Now we're bros.
Yeah.
We're boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Hit it off ever since.
And
That's
it seems
great.
like things are really starting to pick up for you, and
Yep.
a lot more. Big announcement obviously was the Red Rocks show.
Yeah.
Before we get into, that or like any kind of tour or anything, like
Mhm.
what as an artist, like with the No Names, the biggest thing is always like building a community, and if there was some kind of creative spark, like as a person, or as a creative, you usually have this moment where you're just like, oh, this is something I could do.
Sure.
Was there a moment like that for you where you kind of knew?
The whole thing. Yes and no. It's like kind of a nuanced question because like I've had moments where I think I had a moment where I knew I wanted to make music, and then along the journey I've had like many small moments that have like clicked that made me realize like okay, I think something here is working. I don't know exactly what, but I'm gonna continue like digging to figure it out. But when I was in college, I just wanted to make music, and I used to listen to a lot of, or I still do, but Bonobo has been one of my favorite producers. He's from the UK and he makes like a lot of like house music and like UK garage stuff and very like ambient chill stuff. And I always liked that. And I originally just wanted to like make some music and throw it up on SoundCloud with like some artwork and kind of call it a day at that. I thought that was like the goal.
I feel like back in college it was like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was like I was keeping the barrier to entry low. I just wanted to try it. And then I was really also into Odessa, and when they were a lot smaller, they played like a 500 capacity room in Iowa City where I went to school.
Far beyond that now.
Yeah, headlining Lala now. So I saw them in a room of like 500 people in college, and I was just super excited about the idea that like, because they're like in a similar lane as Bonobo, and I liked the idea that all these people got together and like partied for this show that wasn't like the typical stuff that I was hearing in college, which was just like top 40 and like
Yeah.
bangers all
Your
the time.
party anthems.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, this is super cool. There's like a subset of people that want to go to shows and like party for like this type of music and like have a really fun time, and it was just a fun atmosphere. And I was like, that was a moment where I was like, I really want to be the person creating that atmosphere and like making the music and like providing that vibe for everybody. So that was like a moment that I feel like kind of got me over the edge in terms of like wanting to make music and like starting to do it. The culmination of those couple things. But then along the way, there's been a lot of like, shows or events or songs, like things that click along the way that have made me realize like, okay, something is working here.
There's
So,
something here.
Yeah. So
Yeah, nice. I mean, and so the next question I really wanted to get into was more where you draw inspiration from. So, like you said, Odessa,
Yeah.
Bonobo. Like, are there any other artists that you're looking to at least right now? Like,
Yeah.
is there been a change in who you draw inspiration from, like over the course of your career?
Definitely them. I like a lot of their stuff, and I think they go back to the roots of like why I started making music in the first place too, of like finding that the what I would consider like indie electronic music. Um, but now I bounce around all over the place in terms of like what I listen to. I listen to a lot of house music. I like listening to like some heavier stuff too. So I try to like um, keep my catalog of what I'm listening to pretty fresh. So I'm like caught up with what the newest thing is that people are making too. Um, but yeah, I just dig around on a lot of labels. It's a lot of artist labels and a lot of like just good labels to look for. Like Odessa has Foreign Family, Kygo has Palm Tree, that record label, and
Hmm.
Forrester is on that. Like I really like Forrester's music.
Been listening to a lot of them lately.
Yeah, they're great, and I like they just have a good vibe and they have like really solid, clean production. So I go for a lot of stuff like that, and just continue to like change it up. But I will say I spend a lot of my time listening to super chill music as well. Like I listen to this band Krungbin. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but
Have
they're
not.
like they went on tour with Leon Bridges, and then they have a couple collab EPs with Leon Bridges too. But they make like this like psychedelic like indie kind of rock, but it's like really mellow. But there's a lot of cool like atmospheres and tones to pull from that. So I listen to a lot of like different stuff to try to get like random inspiration to like infuse into electronic music. So
It's pretty cool. I mean, you look at even for us for Ghosts, like a lot of times we draw inspiration everywhere besides our own industry.
yeah,
Like at that point, it does feel like a lot of copying or anything. If you do that, you
right,
see a lot of brands do that.
right, right.
But that was more what I was wanting to see too is do you see yourself drawing inspiration from multiple genres outside of your own?
Yeah, definitely. Like, um, I mean, there's stuff even like listening to like hip hop music or even if I listen to like some heavy electronic music, like more bass stuff, there is stuff to draw from all of that. But I also just really like drawing from um, like some random like indie rock stuff or more like sample driven stuff to just like see what is working out of that song and see if I can recreate something similar to that and then bring that into like something that I'm making that might be more of a dance track. So it's like two very different things, but putting them together can sometimes work. Sometimes it doesn't. It can be a
You got to shift through
yeah.
all or sift through, all the bad ones just
Yeah,
to find like one
absolutely.
good one.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of that.
It's been really cool to see too your progression as an artist because I think the first show, obviously outside of Bollywood, because then you played Shuba's not too long after, I want to
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
and the Levity Boys opened up for you there.
Yeah, yeah,
So that was cool. That was the first time like
yeah.
we didn't even really get to hang out. It was more like high and by.
Hmm.
But then seeing you play there and then graduating from Shuba's to Lincoln Hall,
Yeah,
and it's just like it's been cool to see that progression, and
yeah.
that's like kind of the pipeline in Chicago. Is
Right,
you
right.
see like these tracks of the different venues.
Yeah, yeah. Shuba's was, oh my God, we booked that like before the pandemic,
Oh, it
and
was like a makeup.
yeah, and it just got delayed and delayed and delayed, and then finally it happened that fall. Um, but yeah, Levity opening up there, and they're on to great things right now as well.
Crushing right now.
Yeah.
Seems like everyone too, and like our boy Twin
Oh
doing
yeah.
great. I still watch that
Yeah.
live set, his rooftop.
Oh yeah.
I've put it on in the
Yeah.
background of a couple of our photo shoots before. It's just the
He's
sickest thing.
he's so talented, and I feel like he's really finding his footing right now. He just had a huge show at Radius
Oh
um,
yeah,
for an official Lala after party, and
that's the show that I
yeah.
forgot about for you too. Is where I actually got a
Oh
shoot
yeah.
for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was at Radius. That was
Yeah.
one of the you and Zed
Hmm.
just being boys.
Those are some of my favorite shots too.
Dude, it
that we
is.
got at
It's
that
actually
show.
still one of my favorites. Is the back shot, and really just seeing that was like so cool because it was a
Yeah.
packed house
Yeah.
for you as direct support. Like that
Yeah.
was awesome.
Yeah, that was a wild one. And like when you talk about those moments of like where you know like something's working, or if this is like something that you want to do, like Radius was another moment that like I played the Lincoln Hall show in December, and then like a week later I got the text to play Radius, and Radius was like at the very end of December. So
Yeah, it was like 3 days before the New Year, right?
yeah,
Something like that.
exactly. So I got the text like a week or maybe 2 weeks before um, the show actually happened, and it just like came together so quick. And then that show was just so big. Like I've
Insane.
that was like I think it was almost 4,000 people there. So that was like a just a massive crowd and like so much energy, and like those things like keep feeding more ideas and songs and like your journey too. You know, like it's easy to like uh, I guess like reference those types of moments to
Because they're the
like
big ones,
yeah to like
obviously.
gather inspiration and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the. It's just really cool to kind of see that and finally be a part of it after seeing like all those shows.
yeah,
And now
definitely.
we hope that carries over into Red Rocks too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping so.
So I guess changing a little bit from that is something you've actually been starting to talk about more on your socials is really balancing the full time work because
Yeah,
I don't know if there we'll go into like misconceptions about the industry a little bit too, but
sure.
um, going from still doing a full time job and then going on tour with Enzo, um, looking forward to your shows, playing out of
Yeah,
city, like everything like that.
yeah,
So if you want to dive into
yeah,
kind of this balance.
yeah. So I work 9 to 5 in tech right now, and I work as a product manager. And I've been doing it since college, where I've worked in tech and been doing music this whole time. So I don't know anything different actually. I
Part of the
don't,
beauty of it.
which is like yeah, maybe a good thing, but it's like I think it's gotten harder in ways as my responsibilities have picked up with both music and work. But yeah, it's really like a balance. But there's so many pros and cons to it in general, which I can jump into. But I've loved being able to afford what I need to afford, and like being able to always like have a constant paycheck, and just like all the money I make from a line, I just throw it back into a line and like get better equipment, or it pays for like hotels and travel, or I pay for merch or records or whatever. Um, so doing that has definitely helped give me, I think, at sometimes a leg up to be able to just like reinvest in myself rather than trying to use that money to live. But again, like on the flip side, there have been negatives where like your time is a currency, in my opinion, and your time is you're just spread super, super thin. So there's a lot of things that take a hit. Like you don't have time for a lot of other things when you work 9 to 5, at least. Like there's a lot of nights most people work past 5 o'clock. And then after that, on your weeknights, you're trying to work on music, and then you're spending your weekends working on music too if you're not playing shows. So it's a balance for sure, but it's worth it, and it's been working so far, I think. So,
I'd say,
knock
I'd
on
say
wood.
it's working well. Yeah, it's I mean like a lot of creators, myself included, I know really deal with this is
Yeah.
the hard part of the 9 to 5 and then the 5 to 9.
Yes. Yep.
And it's
Yeah,
really
that's the right way to say it.
setting the discipline for yourself. Yours is a little bit different. I think like personal content is one thing, but when you're producing something that's going out and you're actually performing and doing all this stuff, it does have like a different responsibility behind it.
Sure.
It's probably
Yeah, yeah.
is probably the best way
No,
to
I know
put it,
what you mean.
because a lot of people are like waiting on that the next song, the album, the
Yeah,
tour, whatever it may be.
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a pressure to and I've had this conversation with my manager, my music manager a lot, but just like putting your blinders on and not looking around at what everybody else is doing, and just like following your own path and your own lane. Um, but that can be easier said than done sometimes when there is sometimes a pressure to like make sure that you're all right putting out the next wave of music for your project, and not rushing it but not sitting on things. but also doing that around working and everything else, and then trying to have a social life.
Do you deal with a lot of like? Do you ever find yourself comparing yourself to other artists?
All the
Like,
time. Yeah. And I've gotten better at it lately, but I think it's like something that everybody does in general in life. You try not to compare yourself to other people, but you end up doing that. And the best thing you can try to do is like exactly what I was just saying, like you put on your blinders and stay in your lane and do it for the reasons that you were doing it in the first place. Um, but it's hard not to look at like numbers or like opportunities that other people are getting. The healthiest way to look at it too, though, is that like we are all doing things that other people are looking at and might feel one way or another about it. So like anytime you feel yourself in that position, you've been on the other side of that as well, where like if you're looking at somebody else's project and like, damn, I wish that I had that happening right now. Like, there's been a moment where you've been that person and somebody else is looking at your project saying that. So it's a cycle, and I think the best thing to try to do is just like just focus on your sound and why you're doing it, not the other numbers and stuff. But it's human nature to look
yeah,
around and
and
see what's
it's
going
even,
on, you
dude.
know?
It's like one of my favorite quotes is compare yourself to who you were yesterday,
Yeah,
not to who someone else is today.
because everybody's lane and journey and everything is so different.
Hmm.
Like everybody's just got, unless you have like a literal twin that's making music and had the same, like,
The exact same everything.
yeah, exactly. Like everyone has things that are like incredibly different circumstances. People live in different areas, are connected to different people. So there's a lot that goes into it. So yeah, the who you are yesterday thing is really the move.
So, kind of piggybacking on that too is the biggest thing a lot of artists and creatives in general just deal with is fear and self doubt.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
think it's always easy to say done is better than perfect, and that's a great quote for a lot of people who overanalyze and
Hmm.
the analysis or paralysis analysis,
Oh my God, yeah.
definitely. But
Analysis
what's
paralysis.
something that like is that something you've dealt with in the past, and like how is it something that you've overcome
Yeah,
as you've progressed?
dude, I have imposter syndrome like all the time. Like
I'm in that club.
I just feel like yeah, I have a ton of self-doubt like on a consistent basis, but I think maybe that is what can sometimes help drive you into making better music or pushing yourself to make the best thing that you're trying to make, whether it's music or something else. But yeah, I consistently deal with self-doubt and imposter syndrome. Like anytime I level up and do like the next thing that I've been trying to achieve, like when you're the one making it, the music and doing all the stuff behind the scenes, and I do compare my tracks to other people's tracks, like sonically to hear like, all right, does the mix of the song sound good or are like the technicalities there? Um, when when you're leveling up and doing stuff, even like playing Red Rocks, like it's like, is my music good enough to be playing here? Like, I mean, there's a lot of that. Like, there's a ton of self doubt, and like when I'm on a bigger bill, like if I got billed for a bigger show or something like that, I think the same thing. Like, damn, is my music big enough and clean enough and like the right vibe for like these types of events? And I I think I've heard that so many other artists do this, and I've talked to so many bigger people, like with bigger projects than mine, that deal with this all the time. And so I know it's a normal thing. And anytime I have these issues with self doubt, one, I just like get to work and like try to make things the way that I feel like they should be for where I am right now. But I also like I said earlier, like something's working if you're getting the bookings and stuff like that. So like there is like a bit of a positive feedback loop there for me as well, so I don't have to get too stuck into it. But yeah, I think the imposter syndrome is just like a weird concept, and it's a hard thing to like figure out how to navigate. But you also just have to like have a lot of affirmative mental discussion with yourself, and remember why you're doing this and why you got involved with it in the first place. Like I really think like reminding yourself of like the things that were exciting about music in the first place and like the reasons you got into producing music or creating content or doing whatever the creative endeavor is, like those are the things to focus on rather than the self-doubt and like imposter syndrome stuff, and that kind of regrounds me usually, and then it's easy to get back to work. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's the hardest thing for so many, especially like creatives early on,
Yeah.
is not only are they comparing themselves, but they're also in their own head.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think everyone, no matter what level you're at, like I was talking with Johnny and he's blowing up in his own right and
Yeah, he totally is.
he's just crushing and he's still like questions so many things he does.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like
Yeah.
he's getting flown out to all these events and he's still questioning that.
Yeah.
So it's like no
A
matter
lot of
what level
scrutiny.
you're at, you always hold yourself to the standard and then you always feel like you're never meeting it.
Right.
It's the hardest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you said it perfectly there. I think it doesn't stop, and there are ways to like mitigate it and stuff, but like um, splitting hairs on like everything you're doing can be beneficial at times because you don't want to put out like something like, it's good enough, I'm just gonna throw it out there. But also like you don't want to go into like analysis paralysis about like what you're doing or your project or anything like that either. So
It makes sense. I guess then too is we talked about a little bit more on pros and cons of like the full time versus full time artist, that kind of stuff. What do you think are some of the misconceptions for you as a creative, especially like in the music industry? For me, like it's different more so because Instagram's a highlight reel and everything like that. So it's like I'm solely based on like that work that I put out. For you dealing with the full time of work and the full time of artist, like trying to balance it. Obviously, you're not full time artist yet, but trying to balance that and any misconceptions that might be present for like other people.
yeah. Oh, there. Okay, really quick though, there was one thing I wanted to say about like artists just starting out.
Hmm.
Like, I think that's the really hard part to be in, frankly. When you're an artist just starting out, I just said that I had like a positive feedback loop where I get like bookings and I have like songs that are streaming and getting picked up by certain things. It's really hard when you don't have that. And what it all boils down to is what I was describing a second ago of just like remembering why you're doing it in the first place. So if you're an artist just starting out, you should really be doing it for you and your like creative expression. And when you go through all these different phases where you get bigger shows and stuff like that, that's still what it should be. It helps to have like validation here and there, but like that's what it should still always like boil down to, which was what I'd like lost my train of thought earlier, but that was what I wanted to say.
No, good feedback.
Yeah. Uh, Misconceptions. I don't know, dude. I think like people think it's a different lifestyle than it is sometimes. Like, um, I still, for me personally, I still live a really regular life. Like I work 9 to 5. I travel a lot, but I am primarily in Chicago, and I think a lot of people like get clouded by like some of the more louder um, electronic acts that are like uh, touring all the time and like living a very loud party lifestyle. And I think um, um, the misconception being like, yes, it is like these big fun events that everybody's gathering at to like listen to music and stuff, but um, I think like one of my things that bugs me, like a misconception, is just that it's all like parties and drugs and stuff like that. And I think there's just so much more to like making music and expressing yourself through music and then having people like relate to that. Like some of the coolest events that I've been, or I guess coolest moments that I've had are just like when I'm playing a show and everybody is like there connecting together and hanging out and it's a super good time and people are like locked in with the music. Like that is like really what it's all about. And I think that there's just a misconception sometimes with like electronic music in general that it's more like this big rave party lifestyle, which there is, but there isn't other genres and stuff too. So yeah,
Yeah, I think too is getting to know you, and as I've become friends with like
yeah,
all of our friends and
hmm
everything, I think is everyone's normal.
yeah,
Like when
right, yeah,
when you're not kind of behind the curtain, sometimes you hold them like so much, hold the artists and everything so much higher, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, they're still normal people.
yeah, and the some of the really like, I mean, we met Zed.
Yeah, just chill, dude.
Yeah, it's like the more people that you meet in the music industry, and even the ones with like huge projects that are like famous, they're still typically just regular guys or girls, and most people are down to just like hang out and talk and be a normal person for a little while. Of course, there are outliers, but there are outliers in real life too, of
Always.
just anybody that anybody knows or works with. So it's not like strictly music industry either. So
I think that was when I first shot. It was like my first show ever shooting was Two Friends. Well, it was for
yeah,
Jay Willie,
yeah.
and he opened for Two Friends, and I got to meet them, and they were just, they could have been two of my buddies from college.
Yeah, they're
They're
nicest
just so
guys.
chill
Yeah.
and laid back, and I think that like just tore down this um, veil,
Yeah.
so to speak, of
Yeah.
what I thought artists were like.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be people who you don't want to talk to, especially
For
like
sure.
the higher they get, like your Beyonces and shit
Sure,
of the
yeah, the people
world.
that are
But
like have like layers of security between you and them. Yeah, I think most people are normal and nice, and a lot of people that make music are just like they just we're all like kind of nerdy about music production and content and creating like the next thing that you want to do to express yourself. So
man, it is
I know
really starting to
it's
sprinkle.
like a sun shower.
Shout out the Weather Body Seal on the Sony Alpha.
Damn,
This is
I
great,
was about
man.
to ask.
She's gonna be great.
It's not
She's holding up.
it's not bothering
It
me.
actually kind of cools you down a
Yeah,
little
it's all good.
bit.
As long as it doesn't
Hey, I
bother the
think
bother
that's
the
what the
mic.
dead cats are
Yeah.
for.
Okay.
That's what
Cool.
that is. As you progressed, we've talked a lot about growing
Mm.
as an artist and everything like that. How has your
Yeah.
dream or your vision changed, or if it's been the exact same since you started? Like the
Ooh.
levels to when you meet new levels, like how does it affect your long term dream?
Like what I was saying earlier, like I try to remember why I was always doing this in the first place and like why I got involved with music. But yeah, your vision and dream and goal or mine changes all the time, I think. But it maintains like that constant like thread that it always had the whole time of like why I'm doing this and what got me into this in the first place. But you're just when you're exposed to new things and bigger stages or new production techniques or things like that, like it's easy to like get distracted and almost want to deviate down different routes. So um, I would say for the most part, it's changed in a positive way in terms of I've learned a lot being in the music industry for this long now, and I've played a lot of shows and I've done a handful of headlines now. And the only way my vision has really changed is like that I want to scale up what I'm doing and like really bring a cool like headline experience when I start doing more headline shows, which I'm about to announce soon. Um, and just start really like portraying the way I see the project in my head. And it's hard to do that when you're smaller and don't have budget for production and things like that. And I would say like that is a big thing is like I feel like a really good way to get the idea across to people is at a show to like show them everything. You can stream all the music and stuff, but like being there in person, um, I think that's like something I'm really working on like locking in now. And I think Lincoln Hall was a step in that direction with the LED wall and all the visuals for my set. A lot of that stuff is like I think Zach and I work on that together, and those are things that like vision wise I've like really fixated in more on is just like the live show and the set and stuff and what are people gonna interpret the set as when they come see it because I have a way that I design it in my head for me the way I like it and then it's like getting feedback of like what works, what doesn't, that type of thing. But the vision, yeah, it's still the same, but yeah, it's just changed. The more you learn, the more you just know. Like I think when I was younger and like hadn't played as many shows, I just thought like you like get booked and then you can start like touring and then it just like happens. Like I don't know what I thought, but I was just much more naive to it and I just understand a lot more. But now with that, I'm trying to like um, factor all that into what I'm doing now. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, I think that's the next thing is, do you think James from Iowa City, or is that where Iowa is?
Yeah,
Do you
Iowa
think
City.
that that kid would imagine playing Red Rocks
No,
with Big G?
dude, absolutely not. No, like in college, I had seen Big Gigantic at festivals and stuff too. Like, and we used to stream there. They had a album that dropped when we were in college too, and I listened to their stuff all the time. And I would never ever have thought this was gonna happen for sure. I wouldn't even have thought this a year ago. And I would say like that's the exciting part about music or a lot of these types of endeavors is just that like you are literally one email away from like a lot of things changing, or potentially you're always also one email away from like your whole life changing. I
Yeah.
mean, you could get hit up for like we get TV deals for my music, and some of them have been pretty solid ones, but like I've thought about like it's literally one email away from like a huge one that could like change your life kind of thing too, and that's exciting in a lot of ways in my opinion. But no, I would never have thought that this was happening when I was younger. But I am still doing it for the same reasons that I did it in college. And I actually just went back and watched this old video that I used to watch a lot in college too, of just like music production stuff last night, just to kind of like re-root myself. And yeah, no, it's fun to think back about that stuff. But even a year ago, I played my first headline in Denver, and I played at the Laramie Lounge, which is a 250 cap venue. And it's about to be like almost a year to the day. Like I think I headlined that venue on October 1st last year. I'm playing Red Rocks on September 30th this year. But even last year, like that headline sold out, which was like awesome. It was an amazing night and experience. But even then, I would never have thought like a year from now I'll play Red Rocks. So like it just goes to show like none of us ever have any idea what's around the corner for any of us. So it keeps
There's
things interesting and
always one
spicy.
piece. That's what a
Yeah.
lot of this is about,
Yeah.
is you are always one email. That's like something I always tell myself, is just send the
Yeah.
fucking email.
Yeah.
Because that's how I got booked for Quinn, like all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's your one email, one piece of content, one
Yeah.
last minute call for the Levity Boys to play
Yeah.
play their stage.
Yeah.
Like that is the prime
Yeah.
example of this. Is you are one thing away
Totally.
at all times, and that one thing can lead to another thing, and then it just
Oh my gosh. Like,
blows up.
and you have no idea what opportunity you might take that might not seem good in the moment, but like could lead to something else. Like somebody is there that is watching, that is connected to somebody else, or like um, there are like Levity's an example. They got that last minute booking for Electric Forest. They played Forest, then they posted about it, and the posts that they made blew up on
It's like
Instagram.
2 or 4 million views,
They have
something
like
like that.
two reels that have like I don't know, yeah, combined
Probably
like
close to 10 million at this
yeah,
point.
something like that. Yeah, millions on each reel, and that's like a good example that they just had for themselves, and you just never know. Like I've had slots where like I've played a show and like the show is fine. It was like a medium packed show and stuff, but like um, then backstage you get to shake hands with somebody who's like really high up somewhere or connected to this record label or something like that, and it opens more doors. So you just never know like what's gonna happen. So it's good to just keep an open mind and go forward with it. Yeah.
Definitely. And you mentioned things coming forward, so I don't think you're ready to announce anything yet, obviously, so I don't want to take that away from you.
What
So the
the hell?
any kind of headline stuff or any of that.
Okay.
So I'll let you
I can
hold that.
announce it.
That's, I mean,
I
that's
think
up
by the
to you.
time this is out, it'll be announced. But um,
We can always cut it later.
yeah, that's fair. Um, So I have Red Rocks, and then um, I'm actually staying in Denver, and I'm doing like a surprise back to back with Enzo.
Ooh,
Um, he's doing like an Enzo and Friends opening set for this like amphitheater out in Colorado. He's headlining this amphitheater. It's called the Mishawaka. I think it's up like near Fort Collins. It's in the mountains, and he's doing a back to back with Friends. So it's me and a few other producers hopping up with him. And then so it's Red Rock straight to that the next weekend. And then what I'm about to announce is a headline show in Denver at the Meow Wolf in December, and then straight into headlines in Chicago, um, New York, LA, Phoenix, and Seattle.
damn.
So, and they're a mixture of room sizes. Like some of them are small, like 250 capacity, and some of them are like closer to like 500. So
Leveling up.
yeah, little like mini headline run before doing some other stuff. So
Hell yeah, dude.
yeah,
So I guess at the root of all of this podcast, the no names thing, it really comes from everyone in their industry, no matter what it is, starts with no name. No one knows who the fuck they are.
yeah,
So the big thing is, one, you've kind of talked about, your growth as an artist and everything like that. So you've obviously built a name for yourself, and how you build a name is different than how I would do it
sure.
or how Johnny would do it. But I think there's always little ties that you can pull from each person and learn
Oh yeah,
something new. So like
absolutely.
what do you think has been a big proponent of you being able to grow like your audience and your community for like you as a line and then you as like a person kind of like trying to bring people behind the curtain.
Sure. Um, I think one thing that I like to think that I've done is, and maybe I have or have not done this, but something I try to do is like stay consistent to my sound. So I built a sound, or not built a sound, but I found something that I felt like worked, a combination of things that kind of sound like me. And I have like always stuck to that, even as tempted as I've been to like jump on the bandwagon of whatever trend is popular. I've still kind of stuck to my guns of like staying with the sound that I want to make. And I think staying consistent with that has really helped grow that because like there are so many people that will get hot for a second and then drop off and you never see them again, or people follow a trend and then nothing happens after that and they have like a blow up song that follows one like hot thing, and then you
The
never
one
hear.
hit wonders.
Exactly, you never hear of them again. Um, so I have been trying to stay consistent with that, and I kind of built my brand. Like I have this what I would see as like my brand and like my aesthetics and stuff. And I really personally like it, so I've tried to stay to keeping to that, and I think that has helped like grow my name, frankly, like staying true to like what I'm doing for that reason and still being able to like, you can do different things. Like I can play DJ sets, I can play live sets, like can be a chameleon in some
I
ways.
think
But
always.
yeah, but I think that's helped a lot is just like staying true to it and like working on growing that, not getting distracted and like deviating your vision too much, like sticking to that. Um, and then just like I think a lot of it, I think it's just like hard work. Like I really think this is like,
It's a big secret out there.
yeah, I know it's like I think there's a lot of things that people really think that there's like a secret, and it really is that. Like I think if you want to do something, like sure, being creative and stuff is part of it, but I think everybody's creative. They just have to tap into how they are. And then really just like working hard and like putting in the hours of like figuring out how to do things and like finding out how you want to do it too. I think that's like one of the biggest pieces. Like it's surprisingly very doable to do these things. You just have to work at it. So it's just that a lot of people don't want to work at it. Most
It's
people want a
it's
shortcut,
it's crazy. It's just,
So
the time age like it's the time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. So
But
I really think that's a big piece of it.
all right, to close it,
Sure.
younger James, what advice would you give him?
Oh, well, I would probably not give a ton because there's a lot of me that enjoys how naive I was and like and I think that naivety was like, if that's a word, I think that is what like that blind optimism of like I'm gonna figure this out is what like opened a lot of doors and got me connected to the right people and helped me figure a lot of this out. Um, I would probably advise myself to spend even more time on like the technical pieces of music. Like I think at times when I was younger, I try to do a lot less of this now, but I definitely did some like in college, like putting out a song that like was like it's good enough. Like I think it's solid. But now I try to get much more like serious about the art that I'm putting out there and people are going to listen to that and that's going to be like stamped out there forever. So my advice would be to just like probably like dig into all of the technicalities, which is like not fun part sometimes of this stuff. Like with like visual editing, like it's
It's the,
tedious.
it's the ugly shit that you need to do.
But the devil's in the details
Yeah.
of like what can really make.
Is it the necessary evil?
Yeah,
I
exactly,
think is
exactly, of like what can really make this better.
yeah.
A lot of times it's just, and maybe that's the advice I'd give myself. Like what I've learned is that it's the smallest little things. Like so many people are way closer than they think they are to like their goal of like the song sounding the way it should or the video coming out in a certain way. It's the small tweaks or like the little tricks that you can pick up along the way of like spending time doing this stuff that can like level it up to the next level. And I think like just being patient and learning those things and not looking for shortcuts, not trying to just like put it out because it sounds good, but like could be cleaner, like those types of things. Like I'd probably encourage myself to continue spending more time on that. But I would I would probably just encourage more of that blind optimism to just like
I think we
because
could all use a little bit of that.
yeah, I mean, I really feel like so many things that seemed impossible are so possible. Like I was saying, it's just a lot of hard work. So if you just put in the time and work at it, things will happen. It might not always be on the timetable you want, but I think yeah, reminding myself of that and then just letting a younger version of myself experience it all it would be what I'd do. So yeah,
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate get some guests. Some new guests.
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Again,
Thanks for
this
having
is
me.
episode 2. Had to get the boy on, and man, I guess the next time I'll see you will be in Denver,
Red Rocks.
unless we just end up at Soho some
Yeah,
random
yeah, we
night or
might have
something like that.
to.
Usually, how it goes.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, the day of. It's like, you want to go?
yeah.
But
Go today.
appreciate it, man.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Appreciate
the
it.
coffee.
Yeah,
Coffee and company, man. That's all we
always
want.
a good
So,
vibe.
all right, that was episode 2. Also, last thing, where can we find you?
Ah, you can type in a line on any music streaming service, all caps, and you should be able to find my profile picture. And then a line underscore music on all socials. You'll see it there. So,
Go give this man a follow. We will leave everything in the bio below. Thanks, man.
cheers.
Cheers.
Appreciate it, man.